The meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for Tuesday, April the 5th. Have a few agenda changes. I'm going to ask you to remove number 35. And I'm going to ask you to add to the consent agenda at B16, hiring 5 firefighters, and you have a memo in front of you with that updated list. Ashley, do you have any other changes?
No, ma'am.
All right. With those 2 changes noted, I would ask you to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Will we adopt the agenda?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We got some special guests with us tonight. As we celebrate National Telecommunications Week, the City of Oxford would like to recognize our Oxford Police Department dispatchers who are sitting right there on the 2nd row and 3rd row. These men and women of our communications center are the calm in the midst of the storm and the heroes behind the scenes. Law enforcement officers cannot do their jobs without a great dispatch staff, and we know that. Dispatchers work long hours, they have abnormal schedules, they handle frequent life and death emergencies. And I want to recognize them and ask them to stand up. I know that Bridget Frierson, who is our lead dispatch, stayed there tonight so that she could keep dispatch running so that her crew could be here tonight. So thank you. Y'all give Bridget a hug for me when you get back. Debbie Hurdall, Montarius Flemons, Latessa Salter, Christina Rogers, Demaya Campbell, Roderick Holmes, Kelsey Webb, Nehemiah Carter, Kevin Cooper, Landon Bradley, and Joanna Veliz. We thank you so much for your work. Y'all have set really high standards and perform your duties as the most dedicated, diligent, and compassionate dispatch I think anybody has. So thank you for all of your service to our community. We appreciate you. All right, I also want to recognize our building official, Chris Carter. Where's Chris Carter?
He was in his office when I walked by.
He's not up here yet? Okay, well, y'all just have to tell him that I bragged on him then when he gets up here. Our building official, Chris Carter, received his Master Code Professional certification recently, and this is a really big deal. Only 800 people have ever received this certification, and Chris is the first in the state of Mississippi to receive this certification. So I wanted to thank Chris for continuing to find ways to increase his knowledge and professionalism and expertise in serving our community. So y'all just have to tell him that I bragged on him before he got here. The legislative session is winding down. I've been saying that for 2 weeks, and then every day they don't wind down. And they are just still up there arguing away on the most important bills, in my opinion, that include our member-directed funding. So they just gavelled back in about 3 minutes ago, and the first bill that they were discussing is the bill that includes that funding. We have asked for $4 million to build a police department. I am very hopeful that by the end of this meeting, we may find out if we received that funding. So I would like to say publicly that Clay DeWeese, Representative Clay DeWeese and Senator Nicole Boyd have represented our community so well during this session. They have worked so hard on our behalf, and we thank them. Last thing, booster shots are available this Friday. I'm sure that many of you have seen that there is now a booster shot. How many, what is this, the second booster shot for people who are 50 and older, and we will have booster shots available in the conference room on the 1st floor of City Hall for free for anyone who would like to come by and get one on Friday. Will they still have flu vaccinations, or is it just booster shots Friday?
They normally do have the flu. They go noon to 5.
Noon to 5 on Friday in the conference room on the 1st floor of City Hall, and our drive-through testing site is also still available daily at the conference center. With that, I would ask you to authorize the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on March 15th and the special meeting on March 29th.
Move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ask you to authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ask you to consider the consent agenda with the one item added at B16.
Motion made to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? You know, I've said this numerous times over the past few months, but we have so much institutional knowledge walking out the door right now for the city of Oxford. We have so many people that have made this community go round for so many years that it really hurts my heart, and I'd really like to just skip the next 3 agenda items and just not, that's right, exactly, and just not accept your retirement resolutions is what I'd like to do. I have asked someone who has worked the most closely with you all of our administrative staff over the past 20 plus years, Bart Robinson, to please take the privilege of reading the retirement resolutions. So our first is Water and Sewer Department employee, Randy Mccluskey.
And I want to start with saying it's an honor to read them. I spent countless hours with these next 3 guys over our career. Their service to the city will be missed, and they've all worked behind the scenes. They're model employees. They're loyal, they're faithful, they're dedicated, and they do it without most folks even know what they do or what their jobs are. The first one is Randy Mccluskey. Before I read his resolution, Randy's been the superintendent of the wastewater treatment plant for over 20 years. I can't think of a much less thankless job in the city of Oxford. A good day at the wastewater treatment plant is when nobody's there, because that means there's no problems, and it means everything's working good. I can't explain to you how well Randy's done his job. While he's been superintendent, the plant's been the plant of the year recognized by DEQ. Randy's been the operator of the year, which is quite an honor. There's only one a year, and that's it just shows his dedication and the dedication of his staff to making sure that the plant runs the way it's supposed to and the best it can. So with that, here's the resolution. Whereas Randy G. Mccluskey has been an employee of the city of Oxford for over 30 years, established himself as a valuable resource who is respected among his fellow workers and the entire Oxford and Lafayette County community. Whereas Randy G. Mccluskey, with his dedication, knowledge, and abilities, has excelled while working for the city of Oxford, and where he was hired on August the 21st of 1991 as a meter reader to Oxford Utilities, and was promoted to wastewater technician, and has served as operator and superintendent of the wastewater treatment plant since April the 30th of 2003. Whereas Randy G. Mccluskey's comprehensive knowledge of his job and the Oxford Utilities wastewater treatment system will be deeply missed. And whereas Randy G. Mccluskey has always shown a willingness to perform any task or project when needed, whereas Randy G. Mccluskey has made a mark on the city of Oxford through his commendable high standard of service to the citizenry, characterized by his exemplary willingness and patience and courtesy and respect of the citizens he served. Therefore, be it resolved that the city of Oxford Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the city of Oxford express their sincere appreciation and gratitude to Randy G. Mccluskey for his work on behalf of the city of Oxford and the community. We extend to him all the best wishes for a happy and enriching retirement. Be it further resolved that a copy of the resolution be spread upon the minutes of the city of Oxford, and the copy of the same be presented to Randy G. Mccluskey on this, the 5th day of April, 2022.
Well, I didn't know I was going to have to make a speech, but,
We take every opportunity to put you on the spot.
I know it. 30 plus years, almost 31 years with the city. I've seen a lot of changes with the city. Most of them's been good changes. We've dealt with a lot of hard things, went through the ice storm and different other tough scenarios that happened. But it's been an honor and a privilege to work for the city of Oxford. Everybody's like family. I mean, a lot of times you're with them more than you are your regular family, you know. You called in the middle of the night or any time, you know, so it's been an honor and a privilege. it's been made easier by people like Bart and Rihanna and Rob, you know, that work with us and help us along the way. They really are a great tool for the city of Oxford in helping us. So I'd just like to thank everybody for the honor and privilege of working here. And we've been in Oxford our whole life. I'm not going anywhere, so.
We know where to find you.
That's right, that's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. And next, could I have a motion to adopt that retirement resolution?
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Next, we'll adopt a retirement resolution for Oxford Utilities Water and Sewer Department for Tony Bishop.
Well, they don't get any easier. Tony's been responsible for all the drinking water in the city of Oxford for over 20 years. I mean, if you just think about that responsibility, is large. I mean, there's thousands and tens of thousands of people that affects yearly in Oxford. We treat over 1.5 billion gallons of water a year. That's, you know, that number is just extraordinary. Tony's always taken the responsibility extremely serious. There's countless nights that Tony's texted me or called me at 2 or 3 o'clock, you know, telling me about an issue we're having, which I know, and therefore I know he's up every night at 2 or 3 o'clock watching our data and our SCADA and figuring out what's going on. Those type of people just don't come along. So you have to respect the responsibility he's had and the way he's approached his job. Now for the resolution. Whereas Tony W. Bishop has been an employee of the city of Oxford for over 22 years, establishing himself as a valuable resource who is respected among his fellow workers in the entire Oxford and Lafayette County community. And whereas Tony W. Bishop, with his dedication, knowledge, and abilities, has excelled while working for the city of Oxford, where he began his career on August the 6th of 1999 as a water plant apprentice and was promoted to water plant operator shortly thereafter, and has served as water plant superintendent since February the 1st of 2010. And whereas Tony W. Bishop's comprehensive knowledge of his job and the Oxford Utilities water treatment system will be deeply missed, and whereas Tony W. Bishop has always shown a willingness to perform any task or project when needed, and whereas Tony W. Bishop has made a mark on the city of Oxford through his commendable high standard of service to his citizenry, characterized by the exemplary willingness, patience, and courtesy, and respect for all citizens he has served. Therefore be it resolved that the city of Oxford, Mayor and Board of Aldermen express their sincere appreciation and gratitude to Tony W. Bishop for his work on behalf of the city of Oxford, the community. We extend him all the best wishes for a happy and enriching retirement. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread upon the minutes of the city of Oxford, and the copy of the same be presented to Tony W. Bishop on this, the 5th day of April, 2022.
Y'all just bear with me because I'm not used to this. All of my work, like Bart said, is done behind the scenes, and that's just the way I like to do it. But I just want to thank the board. I know, you know, a lot of y'all wasn't here when I first started, but I just want to thank y'all for y'all's support day in and day out. Rob, Bart, Rihanna, and all the other folks that I've worked with over the years. I mean, it's been a great ride, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And like Randy, I'm not going anywhere. I plan on living here all my life, so, you know, I'm just ready for the next
We're
chapter.
not letting you leave.
Yeah, if our water tastes different, we're gonna get you back.
That'll be fine. If y'all want me back anytime, y'all just let me know.
Thank you,
Thank y'all.
Tony. Could I have a motion to accept that retirement resolution?
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? And next, adopt a retirement resolution in Oxford Utilities Water and Sewer Department for Raymond E. Crawford, Ray Ed Crawford, as we all call him. And Bart, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, you stole my line, so.
Oh, sorry. I was like, Raymond, who is Raymond?
Ray Crawford, lovingly known as Ray Ed, are to those of us who spent a lot of time with him, just simply the professor. You know, I've spent a lot of time with all three of these guys, but probably more time with Ray Ed, both here at work and away. You know, the title of lift station superintendent just doesn't do him justice. Ray is responsible for about 150 lift stations, and to put that in perspective, that him and the three guys that work with him, that's more lift stations than the city of Memphis maintains. So that's, you know, just shows I guess the breadth of his work. Ray has also always been Ray Ed has always been the go-to guy for all problems that didn't really fit under anybody else. And I know he always hated when I called and said, Ray, I got something I need you to do, or I got something I need you to go look at, or I got something you need to figure out. I've spent thousands of hours with Ray Ed over the last 25 years, and he could always figure out any problem, whatever it was. It didn't matter if it was a lift station or a site job or anything we were doing. He was always the guy to go to. There's just not enough time or words to express how much he's meant to me and to the city. With that, I'll read the resolution. Whereas Raymond E. Crawford Jr. has been an employee of the city of Oxford for over 27 years, established himself as a valuable resource who is respected among his fellow workers in the entire Oxford and Lafayette County community. And whereas Raymond E. Crawford Jr., with his dedication, knowledge, and abilities, has excelled while working for the city of Oxford, where he began his career on August the 4th, 1994 with the street department, and was promoted to lift station worker shortly thereafter, and has served as lift station superintendent since June the 28th of 2001. And whereas Raymond E. Crawford Jr.'s comprehensive knowledge of his job and the Oxford Utilities wastewater system were deeply missed, and whereas Raymond E. Crawford Jr. has always shown a willingness to perform any task or project when needed, and whereas Raymond E. Crawford Jr. has made a mark on the city of Oxford through a commendably high standard of service to its citizenry, characterized by exemplary willingness, patience, and courtesy, and respect for the citizens he served, therefore be it resolved that the City of Oxford Mayor and Board of Aldermen express their sincere appreciation and gratitude to Raymond E. Crawford Jr. for his work on behalf of the City of Oxford and the community. We extend to him all the best wishes for a happy and enriching retirement. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread upon the minutes of the City of Oxford, and that a copy of the same be presented to Raymond E. Crawford Jr. on this, the 5th day of April, 2022.
I just want to say thank you to the board and all, the mayor and board in '94 for putting me to work, giving me a job. Means a lot to provide for the family and raise a family and keep a roof over our head and a warm bed. And I've seen a lot of changes over the years, but some bad, some good, but that's with any job. So a lot of folks I need to thank for helping me to be where I am today. As I said, the mayor and board in '94, Dave Bennett, Mr. Devon Jones, my dad, Harold James, Gene House, and the list keeps on going. I miss folks, but anyway, I'm sorry about that. But anyhow, I also want to thank Bart and Rob and Rihanna for all the help and support over the years. It meant a lot, and we've been in some sticky situations. But we made it. So, at the end of the day, that's what counts. So, anyway, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to accept that retirement resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's more than 60 years worth of institutional knowledge walking out the door. And we cannot thank you enough for the time and the service and the love and the compassion that you've given to the city of Oxford. Thank y'all. 70. Over 70 years. Major math didn't work quick. All right. Donna Zampella, request permission for 3 employees to attend the CTAA conference in Louisville, Kentucky on May 10th through the 14th at an estimated cost of $6,097, $5,590.40 of that to be paid by scholarship from MDOT.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission for 5 employees to attend the MTA Rodeo Driving Competition in Natchez, Mississippi on April 22nd and 23rd at an estimated cost of $3,368. $3,056 of that will be covered by scholarship from MDOT.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, Donna, I'll ask you to give us an Oxford University transit update, please, ma'am.
I also like to say on the rodeo last year, our driver placed 3rd place, first time ever that we've attended every year for quite some time, out of about 50 contestants. So he actually is going to Kentucky with us to compete in Kentucky, so that's going to be kind of fun. This year, RETP Dev came and did a FTA health check on our facility. And they checked several different categories: financial, safety, HR, management, operations, and maintenance, and customer service. There was only one suggestion made in our HR department and one suggestion on the customer service with our ADA policy. Everything else checked out 100%. So we're real excited about that review. Several things that we have accomplished over the last couple of years. I just kind of want to run through just a few things. We have changed the look of our drivers and we have brand new uniforms, pants and shirts, and I think they look very, very professional. Redesigned the transit signs to add public transit on the signs so people don't think that it's just a university transit company, that we are for everyone. And we also redesigned our maps and converted 8 individual maps into one big map for easy convenience. We also completed a $1.3 million renovation to our facility, which we completed our upstairs with offices, conference room. We acquired a new training space for our training facility. We have a new driver's lounge, 2 extra shop bays. We extended the employee and the bus parking. We designed and equipped all of our buses with sneeze guards during the pandemic so that we would be able to use all of our seats instead of skipping a seat. And our staff designed these sneeze guards and placed them in all of our buses, which we will continue to use even after the pandemic. So that was a pretty big thing that we sent out to our management company, who other people also took that idea and did the same. We also created a media and command center, which we have 10 televisions that access the internet for the MDOT cameras throughout Oxford city of our major roads. This helps us tremendously during our game days and inclement weather and any kind of accidents. We can kind of have eyes on the city before our drivers can actually approach and get there. So that's a pretty big thing. If you haven't come and seen our building, we would love for you to come and see all of the things that we have accomplished over the last couple of years. We also expanded our services to 10 p.m. so that people can utilize going to eat and entertainment, movies, and that kind of thing, and people that also work at night. We expanded our routes to incorporate the annexed area that Oxford took in a few years ago. We have transit going to the new affordable housing complexes, and we were able to take in polling site that has never been transportation has gone to, so we're kind of excited to be able to add that last polling station so that we can transport people there. We procured 8 new transit buses and 2 vans, and we have 3 cutaways on order that we're praying we get next year. We developed a Cdl Training Program where, as we caught last year, we had about 11 people that we were going to be short when the fall got here, and so we started doing the Cdl training ourselves and have had some really good success with it. We also are able to teach the new training, so we extend to the city. If you have anybody that needs to get CDL license, you can send them to us and we'll put them through the training for you. And we are currently installing a new GPS system through all the buses that is gonna make life so much easier on me. So, one of the good things that you get to do as a general manager is embarrass your staff. So I'd like to kind of go over with the 3 people that I have with me that are kind of behind the scenes workers. So y'all have to come up front. So,
Come up.
Mr. Carroll Pringle, Billy Petty, and Walt McCullough. Which they're all gonna kill me, so later. Mr. Pringle has started out as a bus driver and quickly went into operations manager. No, y'all have to go up here. And he's been with us for 9 years. And Mr. Pringle has been such a mentor to me when I took over as general manager. He's the kind of person that gives you those looks your mom gives when you know you're fixing to open your mouth and shouldn't.
We all need one of those.
Or when my eyes tell more than words would say. So, you know, he looks at me and gives me those looks. So he keeps me well on my toes and grounded. Billy Petty has been with Oxford Transit for 4 years. He also started as a bus driver and is our assistant general operations manager. He's the one that runs when he sees me coming when I say, wait, I have a new project. And he always does it without complaining, at least, you know, not to my face. Walt McCullough started with us about 1.5 years ago, who he always continues to act like he's scared of me, but we all know he's not. So I'm so proud of, he's our safety manager. I'm proud of all the guys that work really hard behind the scenes and make transit happen for the city and the university. They have supported me and have entertained all my harebrained ideas, and they've made them all kind of come to life, and they've done more than I ever expected we would ever accomplish. In 2019, when I started as the general manager, one of the first things I wanted to do was develop a safety program. I had a vision that I wanted to get accomplished. In the summer of 2020, I hired Walt McCullough as which was as a bus driver, and it wasn't long till he accepted the position as safety manager. Not only did he run with my vision, he has also incorporated his own vision into this program. We started this from the bottom up, and it has continued to improve as we have moved forward. Out has been talk with RETP Dev in several meetings, and has showed of what to do as far as our business runs, and that's a pretty big thing to be the showcase of this our management company. This year, Oxford Transit was chosen as one of the 3 companies to win the RETP Dev Safety Award for 2021. And I would like to present the safety award to Walt McCullough for the Above and Beyond 2021 Oxford Team Safety Excellence Award. He knew nothing of this, everybody else did, so he is gonna kill me when we get back. So, thank y'all, and I appreciate it.
And thank all of you for your work on our behalf. I think that, you know, one of the things that makes Oxford such a livable community is that we have public transportation. How many towns of 28,000 have a successful public transportation system like Oxford, Mississippi does? Not only are you getting people safely from A to B, not only are you giving people a ride that don't have transportation and the ability to get from place to place, but also you're helping us address infrastructure needs. When we carry more than 1 million people each year from A to B, not in a car, we are affecting all of our infrastructure as well. So thank you all for the hard work that goes into your job. We appreciate you. All right, thank you, Donna. Second reading and public hearing on a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 14, Article 2, Section 14-48 of the Alcohol Ordinance. Kenny Ferris.
All right, so second reading of the alcohol ordinance amendment. This is to allow public consumption of beverages like wine and beer at city-sponsored events in an enclosed area. So Chief McCutcheon presented it 2 weeks ago. It would have the same ingress, egress rules as bars, ID checks, security, things like that, and would be part of our special event permit that is submitted to the Board of Aldermen and Mayor to approve before it was allowed at an event.
I think one thing before we turn it over for, this is a public hearing that is important because I've seen some misinformation as this has been reported. This allows for alcohol, as Kenny said, on public property with stipulations. It has to be an enclosed space. There are no ins and outs. IDs have to be checked. And this is not for Double Decker Arts Festival 2022. This will not be in place for Double Decker Arts Festival 2022. I've seen that reported repeatedly, and it will not be. We will have a third reading and vote, and we'll also have a 30-day cure period, as all ordinances do. It is also not in an effort to form a leisure recreation district. That is something that the state has established, which is basically an open container law that allows people to go anywhere within a district with an open container, and that's not what this is. So I just want to make sure that people understand what it is exactly that they are commenting on, that it is allowing a bar to serve alcohol in, or bar service on a public street in an enclosed space. So I just want to make that clear, just because I've seen several reports that made that a little fuzzy. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. Okay, does the board have any questions before I call for any citizen input? All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak on this amendment? All right, not hearing any. Any questions of Kenny? Thank you, Kenny. We will have a third reading and vote at our next meeting. All right, request permission for Oxford Utilities to participate in the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program. Rob Neely?
Hi, I think included in your packet was an explanation of what this program is doing for individuals in our community, our customers who need assistance. It's a program to assist customers with their water and sewer bills, get them out of debt, and pay their bills when they can't afford it. I think the program runs from now, or whenever it's approved, until late 2023. And there's a similar program that's ongoing called LIHEAP for the electric bills, and with the LIWAP, I think it's called, LIHWAP, it would be administered through Lyft. So the customer would go to Lyft with the information they need to apply for this assistance, and then they would make the decision to, if it meets their criteria, and if it does, they would send us a voucher or a notification saying that their bill would be paid, and then we would operate as if we've been paid, and then move on down the road and wait on that payment to come and hit the account. But I think we have no issues with the way it's set up and with accepting these payments if you will allow us to proceed with the program.
I think it's important to know that the applicant's household income must be below 60% of the state median income to qualify for the program. So that's important to know. Okay, we had a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Rob. Thanks for pursuing that. I appreciate it. Consider an appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of case 2827 West Jackson LLC for a stormwater variance for property located at 208 South Lamar Boulevard, being further identified as PPIN 6046. Ben.
Hey, good evening. Y'all have been provided with a detailed staff report in your packet, which included links to the video recordings of the two previous Planning Commission meetings, summaries of discussions, planning and engineering comments, and all of the the applicant's information that was provided. I wanted to at least provide a little bit of detail and background to introduce this, and then the applicant is here to speak before you. So we're here to discuss the appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of case 2827, which was a variance request from the city's stormwater requirements. After a structural engineer provided a report that determined the building at 208 South Lamar presented structural issues and was not able to be modified as previously approved by the Courthouse Square HPC, the building official determined the building unsafe. At a specially called meeting on February 28th, 2020, the Courthouse Square Preservation Commission approved the building to be demolished. And at that time, any new building constructed would be required to comply with the current regulations of the city. Staff from multiple departments were requested to meet on site at 208 South Lamar in April of 2020 to discuss design concerns. The city engineer noted that the stormwater would be required for the site, and that needed to be considered at that time. Building elevations were presented as part of a certificate of appropriateness to the Courthouse Square Historic Preservation Commission, and those were approved in April of 2021. And a site plan had not been submitted for discussion with other departments until it was submitted on January 19th of 2022. At that time, there still had not been any conversations regarding stormwater with staff since the April 2020 meeting. Planning staff informed the applicant's design team that a variance would be required, and the subsequent conversations were held with engineering staff and the design team about the nature of that request. The applicant appeared before the Planning Commission on February 14th, 2022 to request a complete exemption from the city stormwater requirements. Staff had not been provided with any information regarding the design considerations, and there were not any discussions on possible solutions to manage stormwater on site. Staff believes that the applicant pursued the variance under the pretense that they could only discharge stormwater subsurface by connecting to a city storm drain on Harrison Avenue at the other end of the block. Chairman Rigby asked the applicant's architect multiple times about the potential for discharging water into the street, but due to the lack of discussions with staff, this wasn't considered. The applicant's design team was encouraged to attempt a stormwater design that met the requirements or a portion of the requirements, and the item was tabled. The item was reconsidered at the March 14th meeting. The design team presented a rooftop detention system for approximately half the building, or it detained half of the building. The proposed design was not able to meet any of the requirements of the stormwater ordinance due to the small area to be captured and because of the practical limitations on the outlet structure. Staff noted alternative design options and that two options modeled met all of the requirements of the ordinance. At that meeting, Commissioner Milam made a motion to approve the requested variance, which was seconded by Commissioner Spraggins. The motion to approve the request for the requested variance failed as a result of 2 to 4 vote. Commissioner Riddell was the only commissioner not present at that meeting. I'm here to answer any other questions that you might have. This is certainly technical. Rihanna is here and she'll be able to answer any questions that you might have of staff related to the design. Otherwise, I will turn it over to Will Matthews.
So you may have a question for Ben before we invite Will up. Okay,
Thank you.
Will?
Thank you, Ben. Will Matthews on behalf of the applicant. Thank you all for the opportunity. Ben hit most of the fine points there. This has been a pretty long journey for the applicant, and he wishes he could be here tonight. I'm speaking on his behalf. We've talked thoroughly through this project, and so I'm aware of what his limitations are as it's been through this process and the design and things of that nature. Going back to 2017 when he purchased the property, obviously he didn't think 3 years later he'd be tearing it down, but the reality is that's what happened. And so since then, he made numerous attempts with the Courthouse Square Historic Preservation Commission to come up with the design that they approved and that they liked. And his intent is to provide a building for the community that can weather the next 100 years and something we can be proud of. And so that design process in and of itself was lengthy. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Corey, 3 different designs, 3 different versions of a design to obtain the COA. And so then we started working on the full model, the full application, and realized, later on that due to the total coverage of the roof, there were some limitations in our ability to meet the requirements or the standards of the ordinance. And so, as Ben mentioned, the first thing we wanted to do was discharge into the storm drain that's, underneath the street. That's not possible, unfortunately. That line is actually a good ways away from the building, and I think just about every city utility you can imagine lays in between the subject property and where that storm drain is. And so that was the initial request for the variance that we're seeking. And in that initial meeting with the Planning Commission, we agreed to table it, go back to the drawing board and try to find any way that we could to, I think at the request of the commissioners, discharge into the street. And so the professional staff came up with what I feel like is a viable solution. Ultimately, it's a parapet wall that captures the water on top of the roof and discharges it through is it a 2-inch opening? Correct. And so that would not be an approach that meets the standard of the ordinance. I'll admit that, but it is the best attempt and the best solution we've been able to find that is practical. Now there are other ways to detain the water, but and they're all possible. Now you have to forgive my shortcomings. I'm not an engineer. I'm not an architect, and the professional staff is here. And so when we start talking about cubic volumes and things like that, I'm getting out over my skis a little bit. But in terms of what's possible, there's a lot of things that are possible. But I think if you look individually with each specific, I guess, alternative, the reality is it may be possible, but it's not practical. And again, the applicant, he wants to provide a building that is sustainable, can weather the test of time, but also one that he doesn't have to worry about the structural integrity being compromised because of these unusual or unique designs of stormwater. And so we request the variance because we feel like there is a hardship, and the placement of the storm drain, the design of the building, all of those things, and I could go on down the list, but it's proved to be difficult to make this building design that Courthouse Square Historic Preservation Commission wants to see. It's been difficult for us to find a way to detain and discharge so that it does meet the ordinance 100%. And so you'll see in your packets there, it's a lot of information. I'm happy to address any questions or concerns, whether it be individually or all of it at once. I value your time, so I don't want to get up here and just read from it, but anything you want me to answer, I'll be happy to, and if I can't, the professional staff's here to address that as well. So.
The proposal is based upon, and I think you may have answered this, it's based upon the limitations of the design, meaning this is the best we can do given the way the building is designed.
So the third story is only, say partially roofed. I don't have the exact numbers, but say 50%. Would that be accurate? Yeah. And so our ability to detain on that rooftop is obviously limited because it does not cover the entire roof. The other 50% is actually an open balcony for a third level residential unit. And so, the last thing we want to do is detain water on somebody's patio and they be standing in 8 to 10 inches of water.
I'm sure Brian's got a bunch of questions, but I'll jump in. Did any of the ones they turned down have a 100% roof?
I don't know. Corey, did we have more roof coverage in any of the other designs?
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's, my question is that based upon what you've got and what's been approved from the COA, when the COA was asked for, had there been engineering done on the property? Meaning from a standpoint, Jeff may be able to answer that, but been an engineer and looked at it from that standpoint?
I'm sure he had collected some preliminary site data, but you know, this is a very unique situation, whereas the dirt, if you will, the lot, is also the entire building envelope. And so the ordinance, the way it reads, there are difficulties. I think we can all agree with that in how you would detain stormwater. You know, for instance, normally we would detain in a above ground detention pond or a series of pipes underneath a driveway or a yard. I mean, we don't have that available to us here. And so, and I'm not mean that to knock the ordinance. I'm just saying that it is more difficult to meet the requirements because of the way the land in the building is situated. So, you know, when you walk out of the front door, side door, or any door, you're on city property, you're on that sidewalk. And so there's some limitations in terms of geometry, you know, that I say would be unusual in terms of comparing it to other places that we may work in town, so.
And one question, Will, and you may not know the answer to this, but I think Ben or Rihanna, one can probably answer it. It is a unique location. It is unique coverage, it's all of those things. Now, I'm not convinced that there's not a viable solution other than on the rooftop. I mean, based on what engineers have told me, it seems like there are other viable solutions. And at the last meeting, it seemed that y'all were not willing to pursue any other, just vote and get it over with. And so that to me is not, let's seek a viable solution. Are there other buildings in the Courthouse Square Historic Preservation District that have found ways, even with unique situations like this, to incorporate something that meets our ordinance as far as stormwater goes? And if so, can you tell me some of those?
I think Funky's the only one in it.
Which one?
Yes, ma'am.
Funky's is the only one.
Funky's was they just did that addition, and that met the ordinance. They did have to come back after the fact because there was a change by the architect after the fact in the sizing, the drain outlet. But they had a successful design that met the ordinance here on the square. There are a number, so 1200 Harrison, that's in the district.
And 1200 Harrison met the same?
They did.
How did they do it?
They've got subsurface detention under their building there.
Okay.
Is that like a sump pump kind of situation? What is that?
So they have it in their, it's on the basement, I guess, but it's below there and it drains out. They didn't use a pump, they didn't use a pump to discharge. They were able to tie into a drain, but they are collecting the water underneath and discharging.
And then discharging it.
What about Funky's?
So if you don't have the ability to discharge it into a drain, Rihanna, if you don't have the ability to discharge into a drain, what do you do?
So we've got a number of instances, including right there, we've got two on Jackson Avenue here, where they didn't have the access where the grade wasn't right for a drain, and they discharged into the gutter pan in both of those. There are two on the north side of the street at the Shaw Place property. You don't notice them because they look like an inlet, like a curved inlet. If you ever come by after a rain, you'll see water coming out of them, and that's how you can tell which ones those are. And then at the bottom of the hill, there's another one on the Oaks by the library that discharges under the sidewalk. Yes, sir.
And John, I had to ask this question earlier when I was asking about it discharging into the road rather than it connecting to a pipe. That allows you to control the time that it takes to discharge, so it's not just one big gully washer. It allows it to be held and discharged over a period of time instead of just flooding. So, because I was perplexed that if you're letting it go in the street, then why is that, how's that helpful? But it's because you're controlling the rate
all the other buildings on that street back there, they just discharge into a gutter and it goes through the middle of the street and goes down the drain, right?
So one's on East Jackson, yes, sir. They discharge into the gutter and then they run down the road to, the one on East Jackson runs down.
No, I'm talking about behind Square Books, all those buildings that go down.
But if they rebuild, they would have to then meet, if they were to tear down and rebuild, they would have to meet these same requirements and standards, yeah.
And if I may, I appreciate the comparisons, but, I want to make sure we're talking about apples to apples. The Oaks or the place on East Jackson, we're talking about, compared to the 2,000 feet of this property, is substantially larger. They can manipulate dirt, they can make water flow certain ways. We can't change the way water flows on Harrison or South Lamar.
Yeah, I think that Harrison and Funky's are the comparable. I don't think those others, I get it, but I agree with you.
Right, and the last thing I want to do is have the staff come up with a design that we know is not feasible. I would rather come here and ask for a variance on the front end as opposed to come back after the building's built and ask for forgiveness, and that's really kind of what took place there. So, it's...
I don't think that's correct, but...
Well, it wasn't built to the design. So, anyway, in terms of, was Harrison the other example? Is that right? That's an area where the sump pump, and it is being pumped, correct?
It's gravity.
Okay, and so, but we're talking about a parking garage, right? Like the lower level? And so any water that goes into this parking garage, it might get the tires of some cars wet, but it's not going to damage any property. If we put a tank, call it a big cistern or bathtub underneath the foundation of this property, those type things can fail. They may not fail for 30 years. I might not even be here, but one day, it could crack, it could rupture, it could start to leak underneath the subsurface, and, it'll be too late by the time you find out about it, is the reality. And so those are the things I mean when I say there's all the possibilities in the world, but the last thing the applicant wants to do is compromise the structural integrity of the building. And we feel like all of those other alternatives in some form or fashion, whether it be in the short run or 50 years down the road, there are risks that he or some future owner or occupant would be taking in terms of what could or could not happen.
All right, are there any other questions from the board? It would require a motion by a board member.
I have just one, Mayor.
Okay.
On Mr. Alger's letter, he says here, according to the requirements, property is required to detain 818 cubic feet, and the design detains 848 cubic feet. Is that based on the half of the roof, or what is?
So there's a little over 1,000 cubic feet up there, correct?
It's 1,000 square feet for the 12-inch parapet wall. However, the insulation, paper insulation, takes up space, which is why.
That's why it gets condensed down to the 800.
I would like your take on that, Rihanna.
We can't find any record of that 800 and something cubic feet in their stormwater report, and any of the numbers that are considered. They do have a volume for the roof that is detained, and got that here. I think it's 400 and something cubic feet that's being detained on the roof. It's not the 800 and something. I'm not sure. We couldn't determine where that number came from. We went back through all of the stormwater reports and looked, and that number doesn't match the volume of the area. It doesn't match the volume that's being detained. So we're not sure what that number is. But 400 and something cubic feet is the volume of what's actually being detained in that roof area.
Jeff, can you come explain maybe more technical detail how the
biggest thing, Jeff Williams, I think the biggest thing we're missing is the fact that I have the numbers that can back those up. I don't have them with me. It appears that we're achieving the goal by containing more than is required.
That's my reason I'm questioning.
Okay, so the problem is with the ordinance, it's not how much you can detain, it's how much you can capture. So the area left over the footprint of the top of the building won't allow us to capture it in that system. And then there's another problem, if you design it to meet the criteria of the regulations, your pipe size, outlet size is not allowed by the city. So you get to the small pipe sizes and then you run into another headache.
Wait, say that again and pretend I don't know what an engineer does.
Which one do you want to hear?
What you just said.
So we can capture a certain volume of water, okay, in a certain area. However, that certain area is only 1,000 square feet of the top of that roof. So the other 1,000 square feet, I'm just going to use round numbers, is not being captured into a detention system. It's running off the roof, running on the patios, running in the street like the previous building was doing. Even though we're capturing the amount that's required, we're not, I mean, the volume that's required, we're not capturing the area that's required. So if you capture it in a smaller area to make it meet the regulations for the discharge amount, you have to put these very small pipes in, 2-inch pipes. So that's not allowed by the city, the regulations, because the pipes are too small and the concern is that they will stop up. Is that fair?
Brianna?
No, it's not fair. It is,
That's what we were told, the 2-inch was too small.
I'm gonna come up here so I can get on the mic, and just like stand beside Jeff while we're this project tomorrow we gotta deal with, so. So it's not, I would disagree with what Jeff's saying. And there is an element of what he's saying that is correct, but it's more than just simply that they've got enough volume on the roof. They don't. And it's more than the fact that the city has a requirement of minimum size for the pipe discharge. We do say that you can't have a 1/2-inch discharge pipe. We require a 3-inch minimum because we feel like that is something that is not going to be as easily clogged. And that is more for the protection of the site as much as anything, to make sure that they aren't having an issue there.
And why can't they do a 3-inch?
So if they do a 3-inch orifice, because of the area they have, they're discharging the water too quickly. And that's what this issue is about the site, is when they are discharged with the area that they've selected to design for, they have to meet a rate, how fast that water comes out. So they've collected a certain amount that they chose, that area, that volume to collect. Well then, in order to meet the requirements, they have to also control how fast that water leaves. And that's where the issue comes in.
So the issue comes into the design for where the water is captured.
Yes, and that's the end of the design. So we did model a system where you could come in under the balcony. You wouldn't, obviously no one wants 3 inches of water at their door, but if you came in below the balcony, so you have where the water could go through like a deck. If you had below a deck, the water could go and you could capture that water. Just 3 inches is what you needed under that additional balcony, then that would meet all of the ordinance requirements.
But the pipe size, I would think, even if you capture it, the pipe size is not going to get the standard to slow the water down.
So we've modeled design, and the design that they have for their roof area, we've agreed on a 2-inch orifice, which we felt like was met in the middle. I think that it was a 1-inch, I think is what they would have needed, or maybe less than that. So we looked at a 2-inch there that hopefully it was available. Steve helped to research to find one that was available on the market, so they didn't have to custom fabricate anything. There would not be the issues of not being able to find something. And so that was a 2-inch orifice that would work.
You take a 2-inch orifice and discharge into a 3-inch pipe.
Well, no, they've got a 2-inch discharge pipe that they had designed, that they were doing.
What he's asking is, can you take 2-inch orifice?
As long as you've got that restriction, yes.
And then discharge into a 3-inch pipe, and then discharge gravity, discharge out to the street.
You could, yes,
And
but
then the balconies, what you capture on the balcony, is that discharged through another?
Another pipe.
That's what that was answering my
Yes.
question, why we couldn't capture the water.
So
on
you're saying
balconies.
we've already made basically a variance to let them have a 2-inch?
We said when they went to the planning commission, they requested 2 variances. They had to have a variance for stormwater and then also for the pipe size, and yes, we agreed on that variance for the discharge size to try to help them be able to better meet the ordinance, yes.
But that design doesn't have the design to capture the balconies, right? What they presented
Their
the
design
plan.
does not have the design to capture the balconies. And that's what we had modeled to see, because again, we've heard the conversations that it's not possible. And so of course we want to see, are we asking something that is not possible? And it's something that every building in our downtown district and anywhere that you're really developing has to look at. And as Ben and I were sitting there and you were asking about other places, well, of course, you know, the Graduate, the Chancellor's House, our parking garage, I mean, Ben's helped rattle off a number of developments that have all come in and met our ordinance. But we wanted to see, is it not possible? What are we not seeing? And so we've modeled two different methods, and we've had another engineer just comment, I think it was commented at the Planning Commission, that a basement system with a free discharge into the street would also be feasible. So it is complex as far as the engineering, but at the end of the day, we've got some modeling that shows, and then they've of course shown, they've got some numbers that show their information.
And I think the bottom line is, and I mean, you both do this all the time, and you are both great engineers and developers and what have you. We know that we have a stormwater problem. And so the reason we adopted this in the first place is to start to gradually address the issues that we have. And so, you know, if there's sound engineering and a solid ordinance in place, it's just, I know it can be frustrating, I do, but I do believe that we've adopted this ordinance for a reason. Are there any other questions from the board? It would take a motion from the board to grant the variance or to overturn the Planning Commission's decision. So is there a motion from anyone on the board to overturn that decision and grant this variance? All right, hearing none, their decision stays in place.
So my question is, can we send them back to the Planning Commission?
If they wish to do another design, I suppose. Okay, thank you. All right, request approval of a final plat for case 2846 Mcmonti for the Lamar Phase 4 for property located at the west end of Cincinnatus Boulevard in the Lamar TND, being further identified as PPIN 5067.
Hello. So this is about a 20-acre phase, and it's going to connect Chickasaw Road to the existing Phase 2 of the Lamar. 82 residential lots as well as civic space are proposed. Some of the open space will double as stormwater detention. Because this comes after the 2019 LDC change, tree mitigation will be required for new phases in TNDs. Engineering and the staff report provided comments related to streets, retaining walls, water and sewer, stormwater, street construction, and traffic issues. Of note, bonds are required for any final plat in an amount determined by a cost estimate of any work the city may have to complete in order to provide city infrastructure within the subdivision. If all infrastructure is complete and has been accepted by the city, then a warranty bond is all that is required. The entirety of the infrastructure within the Lamar Phase 4 has not been constructed at this time. A final inspection is anticipated to be performed this week for that infrastructure that has been completed and could be considered for acceptance by the city. The amount of the bond required will therefore change based on the findings of that final inspection. At the March Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the request for final plat approval with the conditions that are in that staff report, and staff recommends approval of the final plat for Lamar Phase 4 with the 4 conditions that are listed in the memo.
So moved with the conditions.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance amending Chapter 22, Buildings, Article 2 to add Section 22 through 25 appeals. Hollis.
This is a second reading of the Building Board of Adjustment. This would create, through the Planning Commission, a Board of Adjustment where if a decision was made by the building official that a homeowner or a contractor, whoever, thought that he had misinterpreted, he would be able to go to the Planning Commission, a smaller version of of the commission. The chairman of the planning commission would appoint 2 other commissioners and a at-large subject matter expert. They would hear this and make a determination. We changed it a little bit from last month. Whatever that decision is, the party, if they disagreed, would go to the courts instead of y'all to get a final outcome.
All right, so this is a second reading and public hearing. Does anybody on the board have a question or a comment? All right, this is a public hearing on this proposed ordinance. Is there anyone in the audience who has a comment? All right, hearing none, up to the board with no comments from the audience, no questions from you all. Would you wish to vote on this tonight or have a third reading?
I move we approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Request permission to accept the FY20 Homeland Security Grant from the Mississippi Department of Public Safety in the amount of $20,000. Chief Gardner?
Yes, ma'am, we applied for this grant, we were approved. We're basically getting a new Polaris side-by-side for $417.
Motion made to second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Request permission to accept the FY21 Homeland Security Grant from Mississippi Department of Public Safety in the amount of $46,685. Chief Gardner?
Yes, ma'am, this is a separate grant that we applied for, and we'll be getting a Dodge Ram 3500 crew cab for the low price of $3,015.
Motion made to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor? Any
Hey,
opposed?
Chief, real quick, just for the record, the Ranger, somebody's gonna ask, why do we need a Ranger? And it's for
It'll
Grove.
be just like the Grove, the one we have now. We can use it on, double decker in the Grove, any special event that we have.
Perfect, thank you.
But anybody that asks, we'd like to tell them we wouldn't have bought it if it hadn't been for $417.
Request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for Monica Daniels for the law enforcement torch run on Monday, May 9th, starting at 10:15 a.m. DC Maiden.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for Pam Swain for the Double Decker Spring Fun Run 5K and 10K event on Saturday, April 23rd, starting at 4 a.m.
I probably need to talk about this.
Starting at 4 a.m.?
That's when the
permit
details
starts when
start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So moved.
The race will not start
Race,
then, but the
So moved.
detail will start then. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Consider a request for Grand Oaks, the Country Club of Oxford, to shoot fireworks on Friday, July 1st.
So
DC?
moved. The alternate date is the 2nd or the 3rd.
Yep.
For rain.
All right.
Yes. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to apply for the FY22 Homeland Security Grant through the Mississippi Department of Public Safety in the amount of $421,639.96.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Good job, DC. All right, request permission to approve budget reallocations and amendments. Ashley?
Yes, you have a very short list of what are mostly reallocations. You'll see most of the net changes are zero. We upped revenue a little bit, but I'm trying to do these a little more often so that as we get into budget, all of our departments will have a good idea of their numbers.
Motion made to approve.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider change order number 2 for the Oxford Conference Center roof project for a deduction of $27,500.
Deduction, so moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider change order number 1 for final quantities for the Oxford Way Signal project in the amount of $4,000.86. Rihanna?
Yes, this is clearing up our final quantities for our project, and we had to add a new pay item for a pedestrian sign.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider professional services contract with Headwaters Natural Resources Consulting for the Maplewood Cove Hazard Mitigation Grant.
Yes, as part of our application to MEMA, we've been asked to provide an environmental assessment. That is not something that staff has the background or comfort in providing, so we'd like to hire this firm for these professional services, and this is our grant we're applying for Maplewood Cove for that area.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider acceptance of infrastructure easements and right-of-way in the Eastover development.
Yes, and this one, I don't know, so this is for Eastover development. There are a number of actions, and I broke it down just because there were a number of exhibits, but this project is our one of the affordable housing developments. The final inspection was held in May of 2020. All punch list items have been complete. And so there are a number of different dedications, and I'm just going to go through, and you may want to vote all at once, or you may want to break them out. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to go through it slowly. So the first is accept dedication of right-of-way of Eastover by warranty deed, and these are all pending legal counsel approval. So Eastover Drive itself is one deed, and that is what that item is for, to accept that. The second item is to accept the dedication of a water main between FD Buddy East Parkway and Eastover Development for ownership and maintenance, and to accept an easement on each side of the water main pending council approval. So they are dedicating the water main to us, and then they're granting an easement for us to be able to access that. And typically, we don't receive our infrastructure individually dedicated, but because this work had work done off-site, that's the reason that this is broken down in so many, because they had to come in from other places for their connections. Number 3 is to accept the dedication of right-of-way of Blunt Drive and extension of Cannon Road by warranty deed, and accept utilities installed within this area. And this is an area that was owned by multiple parties other than just the Eastover Development Group. The deed transfers both the roadway and the utilities to the city. Number 4 is to accept the dedication of the easement for the lift station, and this is, the lift station itself is located outside of the right-of-way, and so they're just dedicating that to the city, the actual lift station itself. Number 5, accept dedication and easement, Brandywine connection. This is for the transfer of the ownership of the sewer line, and then granting an easement so that we can access it, and that goes from Cannon Road over to Brandywine. There. Number 6 is accept an easement for sidewalk and on-site water line. This is for the water line that goes between Buddy East, within the property of Eastover, and Eastover Drive. So there's a small section of water line on the property, and then portions of sidewalk that are outside the right-of-way. And number 7 is to accept the water, street, and sewer infrastructure within the right-of-way of the Eastover development. And I would also ask with that for direction regarding a requirement for a warranty bond. So typically when you accept infrastructure, we begin a 1-year warranty period in consideration that this is an affordable housing development, and in consideration that the infrastructure has been complete since May of 2020, the board may choose to forego that warranty bond requirement, as has been considered in the past. And we have a letter of certification for all the infrastructure. So again, I don't know if you want to, I just wanted to go through them all piece by piece because it was a lot.
I make a motion to approve the acceptance of 1 through 7 and all subparts with waiver of the warranty deed, warranty bond on the.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consider bids received for the Goose Creek Sewer Force Main Remediation Phase 1.
Yes, and we received bids on March 23rd. The low bid was $395,000. All the bids were very close. We received 3 bids and they were all close, which tells us that we've got a good competitive price. And we would ask that you, that you would award the bid to Hemp Hill Construction. And this is for Phase 1 of our project to help our force main out there.
What was our estimated cost in our budget?
The estimated cost was $375,000, so it's a little over, but.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consider change order number 1 for J.E. Sheridan Construction in the amount of $2,250 for the RSVP demolition project. Mark Levy.
They started construction last week of the old RSVP building. We're
Not construction, destruction.
Sorry, yes, demolition, sorry. We're requesting a small addition to the demolition contract in order to save the pavers on top of the roof. They're 24 by 24 inch concrete pavers. The proposed change order will allow us to keep 500 pavers, individual pavers to reuse on future projects. Pavers themselves are valued about $20, not including shipping, so we feel like it's a good value. The change orders $4.50 a piece roughly, and we feel like they'll be easy to store. So we're
So really, it's a change order. We're getting $15.50 per pager.
That's
You could look
right.
at it that way.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I accept.
We got a lot of places we can use them. It just didn't make sense to chop them up and throw them away. All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to advertise for bids for the construction of a park next to City Hall.
So we're expecting to have the final construction documents for the city park completed before the next board meeting. So we want to go ahead and get permission to advertise so we didn't lose any time. The construction documents have a few minor details that were added from the original conceptual plans, which are all in your packets. So barring any unforeseen, if you approve this, barring any unforeseen conditions, we'll bring back the bids for your consideration in mid-May.
Move we approve. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you,
Thank you.
Mark. Consider the interlocal agreement creating the Lafayette Oxford University Transportation Improvement Commission.
Okay, we've talked about this for a while, and finally are getting some progress on it. Lafayette County did approve the interlocal. It creates a three-member transportation commission. The mayor, the chancellor, and the president of the board of supervisors, or their designee. If you look at the authorities or powers of the commission, you'll get the gist of what they're there for. But primarily to be an entity that works to improve our transportation through either grant programs, through lobbying efforts with legislature on state and federal level. The commission, the approval of the agreement would require a budget amendment of $50,000, which would be seed money that would go to the lead agency. The lead agency would hold the money in a trust, $50,000 from each entity, and to use for to promote the wheels of the commission.
All right. Are there any questions from anybody?
Nope.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Consider authorizing the application for a raised planning grant.
So for
The old raised grant's back.
Tiger, Ray,
The old raised grant is back.
So far, we've never raised anything.
So far, back up, brother. We just got a big chunk of money from the Fed, so it was not a raised grant. It was not a raised grant. You're right. Okay, so
all right, so
we've applied 4 times now, John, yes, and we haven't gotten it, so we're due.
So we're actually going to back up and apply for the planning grant. The new raised grant format allows you to apply for a planning grant, and it allows you to move forward and get the project shovel ready, which gives it more authority when you actually apply for the raised grant itself. So
we're forward.
Well, I just need a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Here we go again, everybody. All right, I'll ask the board to consider an executive session.
Make a motion. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? The board will now consider an executive session. Thank you for being here.